Hey everyone, and welcome to r/AmITheButthole, the place where we get to judge strangers on the internet because they've literally asked us to. Now, I'm sure you have all been on this sub before, you know exactly what it's about, you know what's going on, so I won't waste another second and get straight into this first one by user/Fluffy Benefit 4801. Am I the butthole for asking my parents why they chose to give my siblings money and not me? I really don't want to come off as entitled. I get that they don't owe me a trust fund, but I have 2 kids and I would never treat them this differently in the future, unless one of them was some type of addict and giving them money would only fuel their addiction. I really can't understand how you can want to see 2 out of 3 kids financially secure. My parents are very well off. I always got the impression they did more for my siblings than me, but it wasn't tangible until this came up. I recently turned 25 and my brother made a joke about being rich now. I didn't know what he meant. He looked embarrassed and said, never mind, maybe my parents only gave him money when he turned 25. We ended up calling my sister, who confirmed she also got a trust fund of the same amount. My brother then divulged that he got another trust at 30, and my sister admitted our parents told her she would be getting one at 30 as well. We're talking about a lot of money, like their kids are going to live completely different lifestyles than my kids. Now, I don't know if this makes me a little entitled, but I think that's seriously effed up. I asked my parents as non-confrontationally as possible, and my dad admitted that they have no intention of giving me a trust, because I made a choice not to be a part of a family when I allowed my wife to punish my mum for being bipolar. My mum isn't allowed to be alone with our children, which I honestly find unfair because I think she has her bipolar disorder pretty well controlled. She was a good mum, and she does fine with my nieces and nephews. But my wife disagrees, so I have to back her. My mum said that she loves me and my siblings equally, but she hates my wife and will never view my kids as real family, so she isn't giving us the money. She then got very upset and left, and my dad said I should go. My dad texted me that night that you never ask someone about money, and how dare I put them in that position. Look, to be honest, I included this one because I really thought it was interesting. I actually don't know how to judge it just because I feel that OP really isn't telling us something. I guess that would put my vote at info, but I just don't see why this should be a problem from OP's post. The way that it's written is so mild, and the reactions I see from the people in the story are so severe that either OP isn't telling us something and I can't really make a judgment, or OP doesn't realize himself how bad the situation really is. And I think that's what my recommendation to OP would be. You need to sort out the relationship between you and your mum, you and your wife, your mum and your wife, work out what's going on there. Or if you know full well what's going on, put up with the consequences that have come out of this. I really don't know what to say for that one, so let's move on to the next one. This one by user/WriteAhead. I was with my girlfriend at a small party of maybe 40 or so people, and she was on the phone, and she was talking in Chechen about how the food and drinks at the party were garbage, and some of the organisers are losers, tryhards, but overall, it's better than being home alone. We're all Russians in Russia. Most of the party was ethnic Russian, and the guy hosting the party says in Russian, so that people nearby can understand it. Hey, I heard you say in Chechen that our drink and food selection isn't great. Any suggestions? You can go to the gas station across the street instead of complaining about it. The whole room bursts into laughter, and I can't explain the face on my girlfriend. She looked absolutely mortified. She then told me we were going home now. I told her no, because I was enjoying the party. I was her ride, so she was basically stuck at the party, and she kept begging me to take her home because she became the joke of the party after that. I told her it's her own fault. She kept blaming the party organizer for not telling her he spoke Chechen. And I guess this is the gamble you face when you talk a language in public that's not the major one spoken in a place. Chances are, no one will understand you, you'll be good, but chances are, someone there might hear you and it'll be so embarrassing. I'm saying not the butthole OP, your girlfriend acted rude, and well, instant karma, that's what happened. And with that, let's move on to the next one by user/DramaticBash6917. I have one child, a wonderful 7-year-old. She is an only child. I've been getting a lot of criticism about one aspect of my parenting, and it's that there are no children in her life. More specifically, that she hasn't seen anyone under 18 since March, and there's no plans for any playdates. I don't think that that's a problem. I was an only child in a very similar situation to her, and I didn't mind it. I had a hard time relating to other kids at school and didn't like them all that much anyway. The gap started to fade around age 16, and I have a normal amount of friends as an adult. Even if it is, I literally don't know anyone that has kids. While I love my daughter, I don't want more kids. Her father left me when she was a baby because she was sensory overload and refuses any time without me around because she's too much. So he's not having more. My cousins are much older than me, and the youngest of their kids is 17. My friends are all uninterested in children, but love my daughter and being in aunt-uncle roles. My neighbourhood is a condominium complex that is now 55 plus. I and another unit were grandfathered in, child-free couple. I'm about 98 positive that my daughter is the only child in the entire complex, and the old people obviously aren't having their grandkids visit now. There is no kid sports here right now that I could sign her up to. I take my daughter to a playground that we have to drive to often, but we're always the only people there. My family says it's different now because school is online, so she's only seeing kids on screens and may think she's the only child in the world. I've seen some mother groups online, but that would just be more screens anyway. And I'm scared that it'll be the same Mother Olympics that drove me crazy when my daughter was a baby. I can't deal with that. Is it really so bad if my daughter grows up thinking she's the only child in the world? Look, OP, my vote can go two ways on this one. If you phrase it this way, that if your daughter grows up thinking she's the only child in the world, well, that would make you the butthole. I mean, as the comments have so kindly informed me, playing with other kids is very important to children's development and is a part of growing up that can't be omitted. On the other hand, I do get it. The situation right now is quite complicated. If this is just temporary stuff that's got to do with the pandemic and your daughter will go back to school, go back to sports, and go back to seeing other kids once this is all over, well then, there is not much you can do about it. So I'd say not the butthole, and you just gotta get straight back into it as soon as you can. And here's the next one by user/GA7Gab. My ex-stepdaughter Nicole from a previous marriage is staying with us after a fight with her mum. The marriage was short, 3 years, and ended badly. I don't have custody, but I still have a cautious relationship with both of my ex's kids now, 17 female and 21 male. I live with my now wife of 4 years, her 2 kids, 20 female and 15 male, my son from another relationship, 10 male, who's here sometimes, and our 2 kids together, 4 male and 1 female. I'm using step, half, and etc. throughout for clarity, but in practice, I think of them as my kids and vice versa. My stepdaughter had a fight with her mum and asked if she could come stay with us. We told her she could stay as long as she wanted on certain conditions. She met some of them, like doing Zoom homework, but she's not meeting 2 of them. The first is chores. The second is just being respectful, especially towards my wife. I'm pretty big on chores, and because we're a blended family, we've always had a if you sleep here tonight, you're on the chore chart today kind of policy, which I think is fair. We live in an old house on a big piece of land with 2 babies, so there's never a shortage of things to do. I don't think her daily chore list is unreasonable or strict. Nicole drag her feet, stomp around, cut corners, and exhibit a bad attitude that would get one of the other's extra chores, or at least a verbal talking to. My ex vehemently and vocally hates my wife, and Nicole has definitely absorbed that. My wife and I both knew that going into this. That's why we said she had to be respectful as a condition. But Nicole will mostly not acknowledge my wife or give her dirty looks rather than actually saying anything. My wife's daughter, 20 female, is home due to the virus and has picked a few fights with Nicole like, "Aren't you going to say thank you?" in defense of my wife. My wife told her to back off, and she did, but I don't think she's wrong. My wife is very patient with her and just letting it roll off her for the most part. When I'm around, Nicole is usually better behaved, but during the day, it's mostly my wife at home. I explicitly told her last week that she needed to be respectful if she wanted to stay here. My wife was a bit annoyed at me and said I was being overly strict, and in the end, it only brought about 24 hours of better behaviour. I think she knows that I really don't want to kick her out and is banking on me just not following through. Kicking her out wouldn't put her in an unsafe situation, but I also don't think it's what's best for her or her relationship with her mum. But, on the other hand, she's setting a bad example for our kids and creating a more stressful home life at an already stressful time. And again, she made a commitment and she's not meeting it. And OP has replied to quite a few comments in this one, so if you want to have a read, I think it's definitely worth it. And having had a look, I want to say not the butthole OP. It appears that you've set rules and you've established the consequences that she would have if she didn't meet these rules. And, well, what else can you do from here other than follow through? Because I'm afraid if you won't, it'll set a bad example for your daughter and your other kids as well. I guess the only other thing I can think of is saying, here's a date. By this date, if you're not meeting my rules, you're leaving. That's the only way I can say of wording it, just to give your daughter an idea of exactly how urgently she needs to change her behaviour. But really, other than that, I think I'm going to say not for butthole OP. As much as it is quite a complicated situation, you're doing everything right. And here's the next one by user/informalfrosting997. 4 years ago, my daughter was engaged to be married, and I put myself up to foot all the bills as I did for the other children. They ended up having a bad fallout, which resulted in her cancelling the wedding and later the relationship. It was quite unfortunate, but not as unfortunate as the 5k I lost. Anyways, that was then. Now she's newly engaged again and recently approached me about helping out, since she's only just started working again and still saving for a new house. I said no and suggested places and people she could go to. She asked me again after the next couple of days, asking for a contribution at the very least. But this didn't rub me the right way either, as I barely had a choice. I again just said no and ended the conversation. She's now throwing her toys around about how I'm being a butthole after she begged me. Losing 5k might not have severely dented or crippled my bank account, but it didn't feel good. That was my contribution. To be honest, the one line that gets me in this one is, it was quite unfortunate, but not as unfortunate as the 5k I lost. I mean, wow. Valuing 5,000, I suspect, dollars over your daughter's happiness. Just that whole line just rubs me the wrong way, OP. I mean, I guess on a technicality, I sorta have to say, not the butthole, it's your money to spend as you choose. But in general, the relationship does seem quite strained, and so I don't really know. Like, the whole attitude of this post just rubs me the wrong way, if you guys know what I mean. And here's the next one by user/throwaway mum war. This is a throwaway because I feel awful about it. I'm friends with two other women, Christy and Amy, that I went to high school with. We all have kids that were born within a week of each other, who were all 7, and we were lucky to all start off as stay-at-home mums. Not long after the kids turned 1, I found out my significant other had been cheating for almost 2 years. I left him and started life as a single mum. This included going back to work. Christy helped me out with babysitting until I could get back on my feet. Amy said she wouldn't help me because if my significant other was cheating, I should have been a better wife and cared about his needs more. I remained friends with her, but I distanced myself. 2 years later, I met my current husband. 2 years after that, we got married, and we decided I would be a stay-at-home mum again and homeschool my son and our baby. Things have been great, and we live a comfortable life. 6 months ago, the worst happened to Amy. Her husband died, and not long after, she found out her husband had been cheating their entire marriage. She was devastated, and Christy and I tried to be there for her as much as possible. About a month ago, she realised her money was running out, and that she would have to find a job. Christy told her she wouldn't be able to help with babysitting much because she'd gone back to work and she has her hands full with her autistic son. Amy started begging me to babysit. Here's where I think I'm the butthole. I told her I wasn't comfortable watching her kids. When she started pushing me for a reason, I told her she refused to be there for me when I needed help. And while I've been helping her for the past 6 months with everything, I wasn't going to continue. She started calling me the butthole, saying that she couldn't believe how petty I was being, and she really understands why my ex cheated on me. I told her, maybe if you'd been a better wife, then you wouldn't need help. And I've refused to talk to her ever since. So Reddit, am I the butthole? Look, and here's another one where I just don't know what vote I should put down. It's a bit of a situation of you reap what you sow. I mean, Amy refused to help you, and so now you're refusing to help her. I don't know if this is a not the butthole sort of situation for UOP, or if it makes it an everyone sucks here. Or maybe even there's no buttholes here. Amy didn't have to help you, and she didn't when you were having trouble, and by the same logic, you don't have to help her when she's having trouble. I'm really not sure what to say, and I think I'll leave it up to you guys in the comments down below. Tell me what you think, and I will love reading through it. And with that said, you guys, I think this post will be the last one for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel for Reddit videos once every week. That's right, uploads are not frequent, but they still come up at the same time every single week, so look out for those. But with that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and all I want to do is see you all here next time. See you later, guys.